Kindly rise for the National Anthem, please.
Janagana mana adhinayak jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Members Nite. This is something which I just thought of that we must have, where we can casually meet and have a chat. You all must be wondering that why do we have it on the day when we have the Champions Trophy finals. So, I mean, being a huge sports buff, I would not have missed the finals for anything. But after the 2023 World Cup loss, I've stopped watching the live matches because I have the belief that if I don't watch, we tend to win. So I think we are doing pretty well today and we are on course. In fact, when I was at home, I started watching. I had in fact played a match in the morning. I came back and in the afternoon I was watching the match. They were 67 for no loss. And Naveena screamed at me, "What are you doing? Why are you watching it?" The moment we switched it off, there was a wicket which had fallen. So let's hope it continues on track and we go through. Rohit Sharma is doing his thing today, so let's hope for the best. What we are having today is we having several of our members coming up and sharing some stories, some anecdotes. Probably some of them are, I know we have a few nightingales also who will be singing. And he knows who he is. So you can see the energy. Now there is a transition sort of happening in the club. We are having more and more newer people coming in the leadership roles. But I don't want them to forget what the club is all about, what the ethos of the club is. So that's why I am having a few senior members also sharing what RCB is about, what they have done over the years, some few anecdotes, some few stories. So let's not bore you anymore. Let's start. We are having Aditya Somani coming and regaling us with a beautiful song. Aditya.
मुझको इतना बता दे कोई कैसे तुझसे दिल ना लगाए कोई रब्बा ने तुझको बनाने में भर दी है प्यार की पूरी तिजोरियां काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरियां केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में बैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में बैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं can sing along so that it just bolsters the spirit. पतझड़ के
पतझड़ के मौसम में भी रंगी चिनारों जैसी, झनके सन्नाटों में तू वीणा के तारों जैसी। सदियों से भी लंबी ये मन की अमावस्या है, और तू फुलझड़ियों वाले त्योहारों जैसी। चंदा भी दीवाना है तेरा, चलती है तुझसे सारी चकोरियाँ। काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरियाँ। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं। दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में, बैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं। सारा तेरी फिक्र में, बैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, इश्क है पिया, इश्क है पिया। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, इश्क है पिया, इश्क है पिया। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगा।
We now have past President Harish Jaktiani. Where is he? Harish uncle, please come on stage. And I'll request him to share a few anecdotes about RCB.
Hi, good evening. Satyan, how many anecdotes can I tell? Either when I run out of anecdotes or run out of champagne. Which one? Okay, fellow Rotarians, what makes the Rotary so great? You've got to have an answer. No, but that's part of it. If you ask me, it's first of all, the evidence of the fact is that we are an organization with more than 1 million members, and we've been around for 100 years. Now, if that doesn't speak for the depth of the Rotary organization, nothing does. But what really makes it so great is that we are not transactional. We don't believe in give and take. We believe in give and give. That's the creed of the Rotary. And you can see it manifested in all the organizations, in all the public causes that we have espoused, whether it is Bhavishyan or Anandyan or the Lighthouse, whatever it is. And it is all done so voluntarily. That is of the essence of the Rotary. Now, I have seen it in myself. You know, I had the honor of being the president of the club and brought in the millennium, that's 1999 to 2000. And at that time, we were using a little tin shed for an office. I think it was a Red Cross, and we were tenants of theirs. This was a little pokey little place near the Asiatic Library. And I said, this is not becoming of us. We need something of our own. So once, and we discussed it amongst a few friends. So once as I was driving home, and I was at the Mantralaya, an estate agent called me up and said, Harish, would you like to have a look at an office which might be suitable for the Rotary? That was at the Mittal Court, just near the Mantralaya. He said, I'm there right now, can you come over? So I went, I liked the place, and I said, yes, this seems very suitable. What are they asking for? So he said, that's non-negotiable. They're asking for 65 lakhs. So I said, well, I'll speak to my committee and I'll see how it goes. The next meeting at the club, I told the members, I said, look, think of it this way. Amongst all of us, we have 300 members or 320 members. Amongst all of us, we probably have 500 offices. But collectively, we don't have one. It's about time we set the record right. And immediately, here Mahendra Sanghi was the first one to put his hands up and says, 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs from me. And we had an avalanche of volunteers coming. Khorakiwala said, in 15 minutes, we acquired an office. Now, if that is not spontaneity, nothing is. That is of the essence of the Rotary. And very early in my days as a Rotarian, I've completed 40 years now, Ramu Pandit was the president then. He tossed me in the deep end and he says, you be the chairman of the programs committee. Now, I know how exacting that can be, but I didn't realize that people being invited to the Rotary as speakers, they realized the depth of our organization, and there was no difficulty. On a cold call, I would get CEOs of various conglomerates and companies coming and voluntarily speaking. Now, some of these make for some very amusing incidents. One of the early speakers that I had was Raj Singh Dungarpur, who was then the chief of the BCCI. And at that time, just a little before that, he was an adversary in that a friend of mine and a good cricketer, Mohinder Ramannath, on being dropped from a team, had called the selectors a bunch of jokers. And he was the president of the BCCI at that time. So they took offense to this, and they suspended him for 6 months. We fought the case, went up to the Supreme Court, there was an amicable settlement, and in the course of that settlement, I found that Raj Singh was quite a nice guy. So I invited him to our Rotary. Now, when he came, when we called, just a couple of weeks before that, I had invited a law lord who had come to our High Court to give a speech. I called him. I said, would you come and address our club? Lord Templeton. And he says, yes, I'll happily come to your club and address you. So when we did, we had those form letters where we would tell him what the club is all about. And I said, I believe he had come with his wife. So I said, would you bring Lady Templeton along to our club and have lunch with us? So he responded, yes. This happened. Now, when I invited Raj Singh Dungarpur, I dictated the first part of the letter and I gave my steno this other Templeton letter. I said, okay, take the rest from that. Now, I'd invited him for lunch. Now, at lunchtime, Raj Singh didn't show up. So we got a little nervous. But there were no cell phones in those days. And we waited from 12, 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30. It was time for the Rotary to start. And we had no choice. So we said, okay, what we'll do is we'll make an ad hoc meeting. We'll have some speakers come and relate some anecdotes. Just then at 1:40, he comes in. So of course, we didn't give him lunch, but he came, he sat him down and all that. And when he took the mic, he said, I would have come on time, except your chairman told me that bring Lady Templeton along with you. So he says, so I have searched all over the city and I couldn't find her. So therefore, I'm late, so don't blame me. So this was one. There was another incident that happened. I had invited Amitabh Bachchan for our Rotary, once again on a cold call. And he was perfectly willing. He said, except I'd like to know what the Rotary is about. So will you come over to my place and explain to me what it's like? So I said, no, whatever it is. Well, we spoke on the phone. So he says, rather than give me a structured topic, what if we have a question answer? I said, that's perfectly all right. So we fixed his date. Now he chose a date. The day before that, his secretary calls me up and says, Mr. Bachchan is in New York. He's landing only on that morning. Can we reschedule this? I said, nothing doing. I've got an amalgam of clubs. We're all together, and I can't do it because we're booked up for the next 6 weeks. So I'm sorry. So he said, okay. Mr. Bachchan says, then he'll come straight from the airport, come to the hotel, come to Taj, just make arrangements for him. So we spoke to the Taj management, very gracious. They gave him a suite, free of cost, nothing of the sort. And he comes promptly on time. At 12:30, we had lunch, etc., and all that. Halfway through the talk, Now, at that time, he was very close to Rajiv Gandhi. So halfway through the talk, some person asked him a question. At that time, Bofors was the news of the times. So someone asked him a question on Bofors. And J.C. Kothari was the president of the club then. So he says, no, I will not permit that question to be asked. And Amitabh Bachchan said, I'm sorry, I didn't put any restrictions. I will answer it. And he went on to answer the question. It was just fantastic. Now, we did also invited him and Jaya Bachchan. Now, Jaya Bachchan shows up at about 2:15 when the meeting is halfway through. And when she came, of course, there was a little bit of commotion, etc. in the audience. So we sat her down on the podium. And just to break the ice, I said, okay, just to let her initiate her into this meeting, I'm going to ask her the next question. And Amitabh Bachchan just took the mic from me and said, she has come late, she will answer later. And there was such a chill in the audience, you could really slice the chill and tension with a knife. So this is the sort of thing, because, just don't underestimate the Rotary platform. Then we had another wonderful speaker once. I'd heard him again at a tete-a-tete, that's Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley was, at that time, the Gandhi had been released, he had won his Oscar, so he was a celebrity. And interestingly, I discovered at the tete-a-tete that his real name was Bhanji Khimji, and he was a Khoja Muslim. And nobody but Gandhiji would have been more proud than to have his life depicted by a Muslim. Gandhiji, according to me, is the greatest human being that's ever strode this earth. But be that as it may, he came. And there was a wonderful, what he was doing, he was talking about the movie Gandhi. And in that, he came upon one scene, and he said, the most difficult scene was that after Gandhiji's assassination, I had to be the dead body. I had to lie motionless. So Richard Attenborough, who was the producer of the movie, he said, look, we'll get a dummy in your place. He says, no, I will not. So he lay in the coffin, whatever, on the platform, and he says for 4 hours he had to lie motionless. And he was taken through the streets of Rajpath. He described the scene. And he says in the beginning they had some extras in the movie to depict that scene. But he says he could sense it, that by the time the cortege moved, there was a groundswell of support. Thousands and thousands of people had gathered. And he said he had to control his emotions not to shed tears, because dead bodies don't cry, whatever. So this is another incident of that sort. Then, of course, a little later, President, tell me when to stop. I've got a couple more incidents to give. Yeah. Make it 2, all right? So this was the time when we had Bal Thackeray, the strong man of Bombay, etc. A lot of protocol, a lot of fanfare about him. He came there and talked about how his party is there to make the city of Bombay safe, etc., all that sort of a thing. Just then, when Indu Shani got up and went up to the question-answer session, he said, you're talking about making the city safe? I'm the principal of HR College. The other day, I refused admission to a Shiv Sainik, and I was geared. They wouldn't let me out of the office. What sort of safety is this? And he actually apologized. He says, this is not going to happen again. I'm only giving you these incidents to tell you the power of the Rotary platform. And finally, there was, again, on a cold call, I called Vineet Banga, who was then the chairman of Hindustan Lever. And he was speaking on governance and morality. An excellent talk, but at the end of it, he talked about more emphasizing on moral principles and moral values. When he finished, I asked him a question. I said, Mr. Banga, Hindustan Lever is today sitting on 600 premises. They were inducted, they gave it to you on a leave and license basis. These were people who saved all their savings, whatever they were to get, their requisites, etc. from the office. They put it in that, knowing that when the time came, you would vacate and give it to them, give it back to them. Some bought it as, a residence for their daughters when they would get married. Now, just because the law has come, which protects licensees and gives you the same protection as a tenant, why are you still sitting on those 600 premises? Because that doesn't accord with morality. I asked him as point blank as I could. There was a half a minute's silence. He just looked down, he didn't know where to look, and he said, we have to look into this. We have to see this. We have to have a relook at this. Now that is what the Rotary is all about. That's why we should be so proud of being a Rotarian. Nothing transactional in the way we do things. I'm sure the membership committee now, if Musk and Trump were to apply to our club for membership, we would say, sorry, hold on. That's not the style. That's not. Of course, they would then impose tariffs on us and all that, but be that as it may. The fact of the matter is that it's not give and take, it's give and give. And that's why I love being a Rotarian. Of course, we have now a well-oiled machinery in the form of a Rotary machine that works behind the scenes. And the president each year is the flavor of the year, like the Baskin-Robbins flavor of the year. And we have such a young and dynamic president right now. I mean, a bit too dynamic for me, because he has these crack of dawn meetings in the morning. He has these sundowners where he shuts the bar much earlier than it should be shut. But nonetheless, it is a fantastic institution to belong to. And with that, let me ask you all to let's raise a toast and a lusty 3 cheers to the Rotary. Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray. Thank you very much.
Now we have 2 wonderful ladies, I think enough of the men. We have past President Shernaz, Vakil and Zinia Lawyer. They're going to take us, they have a unique distinction to themselves. They have over the past 25 years attended, I think, more than 30 outstation fellowships of the club. So they're taking us on that journey with them. So let's hear from them.
To our recent trip to Jodhpur last month, Zinia and I have been excited and happy travelers on all but 3 fellowships.
That's 30 in all. Memorable trips off the beaten path.
Being new. Yes, start, Zinia.
Being new Rotarians, we felt a bit alienated as we jeeped around looking for the elusive tiger. This is in Corbett 2023.
But what stands out in my memory, and I don't know if Khurshid remembers this,
2003.
We were on an elephant and finally watching a tiger for almost an hour, crunching down on the bones. And little Laila, Khurshid's daughter, was with us, and she was 2. And now she came with us to Kaziranga at 21. So the same little girl grown up.
Another memory is of us going into the forest on a long trek. Do you remember? Just Meera, you and I, through the buffer zone, and being told by the guide that he had once spotted a tiger right there on such a trek. Mahabaleshwar from 2004 up to February 2024. Mahabaleshwar has always been a favorite destination for fellowships. Avan, Ashish and I have homes there and have been hosting the Rotarians over 20 years.
Yes, with Zinia's legendary teas and with Avan's ample dinners and with Ashish and Gopi's fun evenings, we've had some happy times together. I once remember, I don't know if you remember, Jimmy, we were going through a trek with you in the jungles, and a little black dog followed us all the way. You remember? And he came and stayed at Zinia's for several months. He just followed us and stayed with us.
He wouldn't leave us. Yeah. On one such trip, Swati Piramal held a musical evening and gave a talk. Jai Singh Mariwala had given us a talk on the art of happiness.
Yeah, but do you remember Jimmy and Nawaz's fellowships at the club? We've had some happy times at the club with you guys.
These are all the Mahabaleshwar ones. Egypt and Istanbul, 2004. One of our first international trips was to Egypt and Istanbul in April of 2004. On this trip, I'd taken my mother with me. This trip had special memories for me. We started in Cairo, sailed down the Nile on the new Oberoi Nile Princess boat to Aswan, seeing various historical sites. After Egypt, there was a brief stay in Istanbul. Istanbul was definitely one of the most breathtaking cities I have ever visited.
Then Greece 2006. Click.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know if he's here, it was just the three Vakils and a lawyer. Vakil, Vakil, Vakil and lawyer. And that was all. And the check-in guy says, what? Vakil, Vakil, Vakil and lawyer? What is going on?
That was Prani and his wife with us. Athens with its history, its Greek taverns and dancing. Ouzo, we experienced it all.
Then we were on a cruise and we went to the islands and we went to Mykonos and Rhodes and then landed at Kusadasi and Ephesus. But we were on this boat called the Sea Diamond. And it was crazy. It just rocked and rocked and rocked. We were sick to death. And believe it or not, 2 years later, it sank.
The Holy Land, Israel and Jordan 2010. It was a joint trip with the Indian Merchant Chamber and Rotary, going on a whirlwind almost like an official business delegation.
Of all the historic places we visited, I remember the place that Jesus was born. And I kept thinking, how do they know after so many 100 years that he's born here? I mean, they showed us this manger and everything, and I just couldn't believe it was that spot. And then also going through the Mount of Olives and thinking of Jesus walking there with his disciples was quite a really exciting thing.
Very nice, yes.
Your turn?
No, then Jerusalem.
Okay. Whilst we were coming into Tel Aviv from Jerusalem, we had gun-toting soldiers come to our bus. And I was leading that delegation, IMC delegation. They came and asked me, do you have any Muslims on the bus? And I said, no, we don't have any Muslims. We're only Indians, we're Hindus. But we actually had 3 or 4 Muslims with us. I don't know what would have happened if they discovered it.
Yeah. I was very impressed with the Wailing Wall and the number of Jewish people that were praying there.
Remember how we floated on the Dead Sea, toppling over? And the, what about the Petra?
Oh yes. Then we went to Jordan, where we stayed at this gorgeous hotel, the Sixth Sense, and then we were riding down the streets of Petra on camelback, and the rose-colored sandstones and carvings, which were just beautiful.
Varanasi.
Varanasi, 2016. We were about 44 Rotarians who went on this trip, and everything was beautifully organized down to the last details by PP Sandeep Agarwala. We sailed down the Ganges and witnessed the Ganga Aarti early morning and walked and savored the Chaat in Chaat Gully, after which I unfortunately got desperately sick.
Tadoba.
Tadoba 2016. a tiger reserve in the bamboo jungle, and our first safari. And just as we started the safari, we saw Sonam in all her glory, surrounded by her cubs, feasting on a large antelope.
I remember we were so lucky. Some of us saw the female Maya, another saw the male tiger Bajrang, and the sloth bear that was dancing and scratching his back on the tree. I don't know if anyone remembers that. He entertained us for an hour. I remember was spending time at Dr. Batra's wonderful old Portuguese heritage house. We had music, singing, dancing, a wonderful dinner.
Yes, I remember visiting some old churches and going to Mario Miranda's quaint shop.
Iceland in 2016 blew us away with its breathtaking landscapes, pristine surroundings, natural wonders.
Though our camera saw more of the northern lights than we did, it was fun chasing the lights late at night, frozen to the bone.
And I remember eating the most delicious gourmet meals ever with Navroz. I don't know if he's here. Particularly pleased with all the hearty flesh around.
What about the geothermal bath in the natural lagoon? The 30 degrees water temperature was such a contrast to the 7 degrees weather outside.
And watching the many humpback whales during our cruise excursion. Amritsar.
Amritsar 2016. Of course, the Golden Temple was the highlight, splendid in its serenity, such a clean and spiritual place. I remember walking around the pool barefooted and entering the holy sanctum where the Sikh priests were praying.
I remember Jallianwala Bagh, where the massacre took place. Such a sad testimonial of our violent colonial past. Innocent citizens being actually shot at for 10 minutes. And we saw the bullets in the wall. We saw where the poor citizens were jumping into a well to escape the bullets. It was really cruel part of history.
Then we went to the ashram where almost 15 lakh devotees and visitors come to eat at the langar, which is so beautifully organized.
Also great fun was the Wagah border, watching both the Pakistani and Indian soldiers in all their pomp and glory, posturing one against the other to show their strength.
And then the Daba crawl, rich Punjabi cuisine at its authentic best. And then, of course, we all went shopping.
Bhutan 2017, once again, beautifully organized by Sandeep. It was a land of mist and magic and considered the happiest country in the world. I only saw Paro and Thimpu as I had to rush back to Mumbai because my husband was having an emergency surgery. But I got a flavor of the desolate countryside, the monasteries, the nunneries that were dotted all over. It was like ascetic living and Buddhist compassion, all part of the naturescape.
After that, we continued through one of the highest passes. I remember that. In fact, we were snowbound one whole day. We nearly missed our flight. Sandeep was very worried. And then finally the pass opened and then we could cross over. Rishikesh and Haridwar 2018. Staying at the foothills of the Himalayas on the banks of the holy Ganga, the Glass House Hotel was a mesmerizing location.
I still recall staying on our balcony watching the crystal clear blue waters of Ganges. Some plucky Rotarians actually went whitewater rafting.
Remember the Aarti on the riverbank? The famous Aarti also we went and visited Pramath Niketan when we were rocked by Shivamani on the drums.
Taiwan and Korea 2019 March. What comes to mind are the miles of luxurious cherry blossoms all around us, more than we could have ever imagined.
And what about the photo op at Gangham Street? Remember the famous song and the crazy dancing that we all did over there?
We did see some beautiful countryside and a lot of cultural sites.
We also managed to steal away from the vegetarian group to get our fill of a Korean barbecue.
Pondicherry 2019. I wonder if you're noticing how we're gradually getting fatter and fatter as the year passes. That's the first thing I noticed. Yeah. Walking along the pier, beachfront, eating at the famous White Street, quaint French Quarter.
The highlight for me was visiting Auroville, a place where my late husband and I had often visited, and especially the Samadhi of Mother and Sri Aurobindo at the ashram.
Uzbekistan, November 2019. In 3 short days, we were able to cover the major sites in this country, from Tashkent to Samarkand and up in the Chimgan ski resort. We covered everything.
What I recall is visiting the Lal Bahadur Shastri statue in Tashkent.
Alibag 22, it was a fellowship with a mission to inaugurate the Elder Daycare Center, which had been funded by late PP Nalin Parikh and PP Ashish Ved. Come on, yeah. Kashmir 22, this trip was taken during a break from COVID, and the city of gardens and roses was such a delightful change, a true paradise. The highlight of the trip was on that long, languid shikara ride from Nagin Lake to Dal Lake.
I loved Gulmarg and the mountains. And what about the historic Karan Mahal with its elegant surroundings and the superb lunch we had there?
I remember leaving Srinagar with the melodious sound of the call to prayer reverberating in the valley and thinking this must be home to the gods. Tadoba 22, very disappointing. We saw nothing. And you saw. So all I have is that feeling of disappointment and envy that one group saw everything and we saw nothing. Marrakesh. What a memorable trip. Thanks to Vineet and Kashmira's planning. We were in what seemed like the Arabian Nights, mosaic tiles, velvet curtains, lamps, a visual treat.
I love the Majorelle Gardens for YSL.
And the Agafe Desert, the cobalt blue sky, whilst poor brave Sheila braved an inflamed knee. Now we come to Japan. From the bustling streets and futuristic experiences of Tokyo, we went to the temples of Kyoto. And
each morning, our lovely guide Kanai, I'm sure you all remember her, would make us sing a song in the morning, Ohayo Gozarimashita, like a school trip.
We were terribly moved by the images we saw at Hiroshima. Kaziranga, our latest trip, we were off to see the rhinos and gibbons in Assam. Though Jorat was also on our itinerary, it was like a Jurassic Park, vistas of innumerable rhinos grazing.
But they were beautiful birds which we had photographed.
And finally, Jodhpur. The Merangal fort lit up in all its glory for the Sufi festival, though the music did not live up to our expectations always. Actually, we did a fabulous trip to South America, which wasn't really a Rotary trip. It was planned, remember,
just before COVID.
COVID, March 2020.
We had to cancel.
And Navroz told us, please cancel, please cancel. And we said, why is Navroz being so skittish? I mean, what is this COVID? It's nothing. And my God, were we glad we cancelled it.
Anyway, and many, many more.
Fellowship is not the only thing that Rotarians do. We don't only travel, we also do service. And we have past President Rumi Jehangir to talk to us for 2-3 minutes about Talwada. That is our longest running project.
The Talwada Eye Centre came into being almost 45 years ago. And it was the brainchild of our late past President, Dr. Rahim Muljiani, who was born on 21st March 1929, 2 days after the birth of our Rotary Club on 19th of March 1929. In 10 days, will be 96 years old. The land for this center was given by the Adivasi Seva Mandal after he was invited to conduct an eye camp at the municipal school run by the Adivasi Seva Mandal. And over the first few days, he got 51 patients. So he thought that was an auspicious number, and he called it a Chandla. And after that, he was invited to form a regular hospital, which came into being in 1980. And ever since then, every month for 2 days, fellow Rotarians and ophthalmic surgeons and doctors from various hospitals have been visiting this center and rendering free service and eye care, comprehensive eye care, free food, free medicines, free spectacles to all the Adivasis in that area. We drain an area of almost 50 kilometers around the center, and we cater to almost 15,000 patients each year in the OPD, and we perform certain lasers and operative procedures, nearly 700 to 800. Twice it has been renamed. It was named the Hassan Ali Tobaccowalla Eye Center on 26th of Jan 2003 due to a munificent donation from our Rotarian late Akhtar Ali Tobaccowalla and his family in District Governor Sandeep Agarwala's year of presidency. They gave a donation of 55 lakhs for 15 years. At that time, Khushru Bairamji was our treasurer, and he said, ask him if he'll give it only for 15 years or any suitable tenure, because after that time, you will need more money. And then this concept of a tenure naming of projects and institutions came into being. In 2017, we got another donation of 4 crores from Dr. Thriti Talati in memory of our late Rotarian Firoz Ratan Shah Vakil. He was a criminal lawyer, and in his will, he had left 25 lakhs to our center. And every year, he used to be part of our eye center committee and donate through his trust. So in his memory, Dr. Talati has donated 4 crores, and the name will stand for 20 years. Subsequent to that, if anybody gives a donation of more than 4 crores, it can be renamed and you can generate more funds. There are some stories. I don't know if you will see this. This is Bunny. I don't know if you can see. She had like a tumor in the orbit, which was popping out like a tomato. And she came to our center and requested us to help. We said, we can't do these surgeries here. You please come to Bombay. And we tried to get her operated. But she was extremely anemic, and she was not fit for anesthesia. For 2-3 months, she was running from hospital to hospital, and she couldn't get herself operated. She was abandoned by her husband. She was ostracized by the village, and all the children and all. She was the bogey witch in that village. She was miserable. After 3 months, she came to our center again, and the father pleaded with us, whatever you want to do, do it now because she wants to commit suicide. So we had to take a call and we said we'll do the procedure. So with great difficulty, with very few instruments for these procedures, no blood, we operated, finished surgery after 3-4 hours till 11:30 in the night, and then heaved a sigh of relief. At 1:30 in the night, the servants came running and said, she has collapsed, she's bleeding, come soon. Dr. Dave, who was our anesthetist, and all the others rushed. We managed to revive her, and later on, fitted an artificial eye. She was rehabilitated, and she left happily. We lost her for follow-up. One day we sent our ward boys to go and find out if she was still around. And they came back, yes, she's married. So we said, go bring her. We'd like to examine the orbit. So when she came, she denied, okay, no, I'm not married, but I'm all right. So we looked at the ward boy sheepishly. He said, no, I saw them living together. So she had been rehabilitated to the extent of getting a boyfriend to spend the rest of her life with. One of the other events which was memorable in Kalpana Munshi's year as presidency, she organized mass marriages. 30 couples came to our eye center and they were given utensils and other clothes and other things. We found out later that one couple was married for the second time and one was already pregnant. Over the years, we have struggled, and with the help of all our Rotarians, their friends, trusts, we have managed to pull on, and I hope that in future this center continues to render good work and help to all the society. Thank you.
Wait. Friends, Rumi has been going to Talwada since the last 40 years, every month for 2 days in a month and doing surgeries every month over there. He deserves a huge round of applause. Our club is now going to be 96 years old on 19th of March. And I recently discovered that we have 4 Rotarians who have completed 50 years as members of the Rotary Club of Bombay. And out of them, 3 of them are with us here. One is a little unwell, he is not able to make it. We have past President Vikram Kamdar, past President Mahendra Sanghi, Suresh Kotak, and Sushil Jalan. They have completed 50 years. I thought maybe we can do something special for them. So what we have done is that we've got a commemorative silver coin made for each of them and personalized for them, and a special golden member badge which I'll pin on them so that they can wear it proudly. I request Naveena to join me up on stage, and I will call each of them in the order of their seniority in the Rotary Club of Bombay. Past President Vikram Kamdar, he joined Rotary on 26 July 1968. Will you come? Be down. Be down. Of course you can wear it, and wear it with pride, as we always say. I now request past President Mahendra Sanghi to join me. He had joined Rotary Club of Bombay on 27 February 1969. He has completed 56 years. Then we have Rotarian Sushil Jalan, who joined the Rotary Club of Bombay on 22nd July 1969. He's a little unwell, so he's not here today. And finally, we have Suresh Kotak. He joined Rotary on 22nd August 1972, completed 53 years of Rotary service with RCB.
Rotary always makes me young, and I feel young. And let me tell you, all the 4 questions of Rotary have impacted my life, and it has built a lot of things in my life, giving all the things vision, mission, and commission. Thank you, Rotary.
Thank you, Suresh. What we are also doing is, we are releasing the much awaited roster, the club roster, at their hands. For the roster, you can you can contact Rashmi. She'll get you all your copies. This is just a teaser of what the roster looks like. It's a 30-second teaser, so it won't take too long. Rashmi. We have now only 3 more Rotarians to come up on stage, and then we have our final act. I request Jimmy Poe. Jimmy sir, where are you? Please come up on stage and share some stories with us.
Fellow Rotarians, first of all, when I entered this room, as usual, I was wondering whether I was in the correct place, because I couldn't see anybody, any person who I knew. And then, thankfully, I met Mahendra, I met Sushil Bhai, Suresh Bhai, I met Vikram and Nandini, and I said to myself, my equanimity is restored. Harish has, of course, stolen the thunder. All the anecdotes that I really wanted to, or some of them at least, he has already given to you. But what I want to talk to you all about today is what is Rotary going to do as the years go by. Quo vadis Rotary? Whither goest Rotary? And I ask this to myself because while on the one hand, as Harish told me in court when I discussed this with him, that change is the only constant and we have to accept change, I sincerely believe that our club, which I joined, and where several senior Rotarians agree with me, our club requires to pull up its socks where several areas are concerned. Let me ask you just one straight question. How many of you can put your hand up and say that you know the four-way test? Just see, they're the old Rotarians. Do you know that in our time, I joined a few years after Mr. Kotak. But in our time, there would be a spot test. And if you did not know the four-way test, you paid money into the shoe shine box. We don't have that anymore. That was your fine. If you did not wear your badge, it was an offense. Because your fellow Rotarians, like me, for example, today, if you are wearing your badges, I would know you by name and call you by name. Here I have to ask you your name. We have, when I joined, it was a matter of pride. Stalwarts of industry, profession, business. You sat next to Mr. J.R.D. Tata, who was absent 4 times in a row and was requested to resign. We had a strong man, Dr. Shantilal Mehta. He found the slightest transgression and you had it. As a consequence, the rest of the district looked up to our club and said, you people are too big for us. And that is where the equation started going differently. I wish, therefore, with all my heart, that instead of numbers, once again, we put on the brakes and take members who really, that was the ethos of this club, that you took in members who had established something in their life and or in their career. I see a young man sitting in this room who has done that. Unfortunately, he is not a Rotarian. His wife is. I hope that she does something in her professional life. We were proud to wear this badge. Now you will see I have 3 badges. There are only 2 Rotarians in this entire district who are entitled to wear these 3 badges. One is the club badge. The other is the Paul Harris badge. And the third is the Rotary International badge, because I had the distinction and the honor of being selected as a Rotary Foundation scholar to do my law at Columbia Law School in America. So we wear this badge with pride. And when this badge, the Paul Harris Fellowship badge, was given to me, I had tears in my eyes. Because I gave back to Rotary the same amount that they had spent on me when they sent me abroad, so another student could get a chance. So all we knew was Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary, in whose honor A, B, C, D was done. And then what do I find today? Paul Harris almost obliterated. And you have what is known in American police language as AKS, also known as. Bhai, who is this AKS? Kahan se aaya? And what do we do in his name? You donated 2 crores, you donated 50 lakhs, you donated 100 crores. Is this what Rotary is all about today? That we take on grandiose projects, we multiply them, and then we say to the trustees that we don't have, give us the money, and the trustee says, where do we get it from? Go to AKS. This is not really and truly what I joined Rotary for. We all gave our donations. We all did everything that was possible to do. But I have discussed this with Ramesh D sitting over here. I have discussed this with Samira, several others, and the common consensus is this is not the Rotary that we joined. And I don't mean our club. I mean the Rotary movement. The Rotary movement is now becoming like a rival whose name will not be mentioned. And that is not why we joined the club. Therefore, I'm sorry that I have not given you all any anecdotes, but I think I've given a little homily. And I feel that the time has come when we have to look at our club, get back to our roots, and do something which will bring the club up again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy sir. That was a very important message. Now we have Rotarian Sunita Mandelia. She has written a beautiful poem and I'm asking her to recite it out here. And then we'll close with our nightingale again, Aditya Somani.
Thank you, Satyan, for letting me speak my thoughts on this stage, this honorable stage. So, without taking much time, I'm just going to say I have published my first book, Bhavar, 5 years back. And it's one of my favorite poems that I'm going to recite to you. It's about ज़िंदगी. हर इंसान की ज़िंदगी अलग अलग होती है और हम सब कुछ ना कुछ तरह से ज़िंदगी से सवालात करते हैं, उससे कुछ जवाब मांगते हैं. वही गुफ्तगू मैं आपसे शेयर करना चाहती हूँ, तो सुनिएगा प्लीज़. छोटी सी कोशिश है. ज़िंदगी कहने को तो तू मेरी है, ज़िंदगी कहने को तो तू मेरी है मगर मेरे बस में नहीं. हम सफ़र हैं लेकिन राहें अक्सर वही चुनती जो मेरे दिल को गवारा नहीं. ज़िंदगी कहने को तो तू मेरी है मगर मेरे बस में नहीं. हम सफ़र हैं लेकिन राहें अक्सर वही चुनती जो मेरे दिल को गवारा नहीं. फिर भी करती हूँ तुझसे मोहब्बत में बेइंतहा. कैसी कश्मकश है ये कि फिर भी करती हूँ तुझसे मोहब्बत में बेइंतहा. फिर न जाने मुझे क्यों लगता है कभी कभी कि तू मुझसे रहती है खफा खफा. क्या प्यार जताने का तेरा ये कोई निराला अंदाज है या वाकई तू मुझसे नाराज है. भाई वक्त का हर घूंट हमने साथ पिया, भाई वक्त का हर घूंट हमने साथ पिया. हर लम्हा एक दूसरे की आगोश में है जिया. हैरान हूँ इतने करीब होकर भी इतनी दूरी. क्यों ये खिंचाव, क्यों ये तनाव. 3 लाइंस पे बहुत गौर फरमाइएगा. समझौता मैं करना नहीं चाहती, जिंदगी को कह रही हूँ समझौता मैं करना नहीं चाहती, हारना मेरी फितरत में नहीं और जीतना तो मेरे हक में बिल्कुल नहीं. To compromise, I don't want to compromise with life. I am not a loser, and to lose is not in my nature, and to win is not in my favor. So समझौता मैं करना नहीं चाहती, हारना मेरी फितरत में नहीं और जीतना तो मेरे हक में बिल्कुल नहीं. तो सुन जरा, थोड़ा तू सिमट जाए थोड़ा मैं, थोड़ा तू सिमट जाए थोड़ा मैं, तो शायद इस राहे ज़िंदगी का ये अनजान सफ़र बस यूं ही कट जाए, बस यूं ही कट जाए, बस यूं ही कट जाए. पर ज़िंदगी है कि आपकी सुनती है, आपकी सुनती है, आपकी सुनती है नहीं. इसीलिए तो हैरान ही परेशान हूँ देखकर तुझे, क्या बला कैसी बला है तू कर दिया पशेमान मुझे. कभी हंसाती कभी रुलाती ए ज़िंदगी तू, कभी हंसाती कभी रुलाती ए ज़िंदगी तू. दावा हम उम्र होने का करती, भाई फिर क्यों कठपुतली सी नचाती तू. हालांकि किए कस्में वादे, साथ जिएंगे साथ मरेंगे, लेकिन जानती हूँ भर जाएगा मुझसे जिस दिन तेरा मन, तू छोड़ चलेगी मेरा तन. इसीलिए तो ठान ली है मैंने भी जिद, कर लिया है मैंने तय, करूँगी किसी का नहीं भय. अब तो जीऊँगी तुझे जी भर कर, अब तो जीऊँगी तुझे जी भर कर, हर लम्हे का हिसाब वक्त के कोरे कागज़ों के पन्नों पर लफ्ज़ों को सटा सटा कर लिख कर भर दूंगी मैं. अब तो जीऊँगी तुझे जी भर कर, हर लम्हे का हिसाब वक्त के कोरे कागज़ों के पन्नों पर लफ्ज़ों को सटा सटा कर लिख कर भर दूंगी मैं. फिर रब जाने या तू, फिर रब जाने या तू. जिस गली जो घड़ी, जिस गली जो घड़ी छोड़कर चली जाएगी मुझे, उसी मोड़ उसी पल चैन की नींद सो जाऊंगी मैं. अगर किसी ने मुझे अपने यादों के साए में, अगर किसी ने भी मुझे अपने यादों के साए में एक बिछौना दे दिया, तो फिर जान ले इस लंबी दौड़ में तुझसे कहीं आगे निकल जाऊंगी मैं, कहीं आगे निकल जाऊंगी.
Now I request Aditya to come and set the tone before Punit comes and makes us laugh.
Okay, I'll just do a bit of Italian until they come. Io non so parlar d'amore, l'emozione ha una voce e mi manca poi il respiro. Se ci sei, c'è troppa luce, l'anima si spande, musica d'estate, o una poglia sa mi prende, na 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 na. अरे शुरू करो यार. How much? Selfish person, and life is asking him to go back to his roots, you know, very much like what Jimmy's asked us to do. तो पहले words देना, ऐसा नहीं last time के. Was that living it? कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी, ना धूप चुने ना छाँव, कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी, किसी ठौर टिके ना पाँव, कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी, ना धूप चुने ना छाँव, कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी, किसी ठौर टिके ना पाँव. बन लिया अपना पैगंबर, तर लिया तू सात समंदर, फिर भी सूखा मन के अंदर क्यों रह गया रे कबीरा. मान जा रे फकीरा, मान जा, आजा तुझको पुकारे तेरी परछाइयाँ कबीरा. मान जा रे फकीरा, यूं न जा. कैसा तू है निर्मोही, कैसा हर जाइया. टूटी चारपाई वही ठंडी पुरवाही रास्ता देखे, दूधों की मलाई वही मिट्टी की सुराही रास्ता देखे। कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी लब नमक रमे न मिसरी, कैसी तेरी खुद गर्जी तुझे प्रीत पुरानी बिसरी। ओ मस्त मौला मस्त कलंदर, तू हवा का एक बवंडर, बुझ के यूं अंदर ही अंदर क्यों रह गया कबीरा। मान जा रे फकीरा यूं न जा, आजा तुझको पुकारे तेरी परछाइयाँ कबीरा। मान जा रे फकीरा मान जा, कैसा तू है निर्मोही कैसा हर जाइया।
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home.